Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Rosemary, and in today's video I have 5 more easy Dollar Tree fall hacks for $5 or less, this time featuring neutral tones. This complements the 5 easy fall hacks in traditional tones published last week, which I will link in the description if you'd like to check it out. And if you saw last week's video, you know I teased an adorable metallic Acorn Riser, so without further ado, here is how I made it using a Dollar Tree bamboo cutting board and these adorable wood pieces. They have 2 sets. Now this one I think can either be apples or pumpkins, depending on how you paint them, and also these little acorns. I decided to go with the acorns, and the first thing I did was grab some metallic craft paint in both brushed gold and antique copper. First, I painted the acorn tops with the brushed gold. I painted all of the tops and then set them aside to dry, as I needed to hold on to that part to paint the bottoms. Once dry, I painted the bottoms with the aged copper paint. And then once the base colors were dry, I painted the copper part with antique wax and then set that aside to dry. Then I used antique wax on the gold tops. I'll be using these painted acorns as both feet for the riser and also a decorative accent on the top. To attach the feet, I simply glued the acorns onto the bottom of the board with some quick and thick Titebond glue. Then set that aside for that glue to fully set. Once ready, I took 2 more acorns and arranged them on the top corner of the board, gluing them again with the Titebond glue. Since I wanted the third acorn to kind of be standing up, I again allowed the glue on the first 2 to fully dry. And then once they were fully set, I added some glue to the board, as well as the sides of the first 2 acorns, and set the third into place. And that's it, a cute little faux metal acorn riser or serving board, perfect for your holiday entertaining or for use in your fall decorating. And if you are liking that copper pumpkin on top or the decorative fall breadboard, these DIYs are coming up. But first, I have another quick and easy hack to transform a plain Dollar Tree frame into a fall treasure. I simply took this wood look frame, then arranged and glued on these laser cut leaves that come 6 to a pack, so you only need 1 pack of leaves for this design. You could paint the leaves in pretty fall colors, but I decided to leave mine as is to fit the neutral theme of this video. Then just add a favorite fall pick and you have a seasonal frame, which typically costs upwards of $15 in stores like Kohl's or Kirkland's. Okay, now for that decorative cutting board. Can you believe I picked this beauty up at Dollar Tree? It was in the plus section, but it was only $3. And yes, like we did last week, we're going to take a piece that has some good bones, then dress it up and do a little hair and makeup for a wowza makeover. For this one, I again wanted to do some beading around the edges, and for that effect, I often like to use a sheet of these Dollar Tree stickers. They come in all different shades like pink and red and light blue, and this navy blue, but it really doesn't matter what color you get since I usually paint them. And that is what I did here. Painted them with Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle. And when I do paint them, I do go both vertically and horizontally to make sure I'm getting all sides of the bead. Once the beads are fully covered, I set those aside to fully dry. Next, I turn my attention to accenting the sign, and to do so, I used a white paint marker, and with the tip of the marker, I made white dots down the middle of the brown lettering on the word fall. I'm doing this slowly to make sure I get the spacing right and stay as much as possible in the middle of the brown lettering strokes. And you can see here how that little bit of accenting really makes the word fall pop, and that simple detailing just takes this piece up a notch. By now my painted stickers were dry, so to attach those, I first added a stream of the Titebond glue where I plan to add the stickers to add some permanent adhesion. Then I simply began adding the strips of stickers around the edge of the board. When I got to the top, I needed to remove the twine bow and wrap. Since I wanted to reuse both of them, I gently removed the staple holding the bow with pliers, then used scissors to cut the first row of twine, unwrapped it, and then used pliers to remove the staples holding it in place. Then proceeded to finish adding the stickers around that edge. Okay, now that our board has a little makeup on and got dressed up a little bit, time for a new hairdo. And though this is a neutral tone video, I just wanted to show you how pretty this board would look, also with some more colorful options, including this sunflower pick that is all put together and ready to go, or some of these other stems like mini pumpkins or wheat, all from Dollar Tree nonetheless. But I'm actually going to go with a hodgepodge of loose pieces and leftover stems from my stash, making use of things I have hanging around and bringing this baby in under $5. So the first thing I did was reattach the twine to the handle, but this time I'm going to be attaching it as low as I can on that handle close to the top of the board. I'll glue it in the back and then wrap multiple times around and then glue it again. Once the twine was secure, I arranged the stems through the twine, and once they were all in place, I used hot glue to reattach the bow. I then used some wire cutters to trim up the stems on the other side, and I hot glued a leaf on top to hide them. And then there you have it, the before and after. Again, taking an item that was pretty nice in its own right, but then transforming it into something a little more upscale to help elevate your fall decorating to new heights. And don't leave that $+ section just yet, since you will also find there this adorable gnome and pom-pom garland. Then, with the addition of this dish towel from the regular $1.25 section, it's time to make a pillow. Now, if you've seen my pillow videos in the past, you know I'm a big fan of stitch witchery, which you can pick up at Walmart, Target, craft stores, etc. for about $1.50 a roll. If you're not familiar, it's super easy to use, and all you need to do is place it where you want to fuse together 2 pieces of fabric. And so for my dish towel, I placed it on the upper half, and I placed a strip there on the left-hand side and then on the right-hand side, and on the top about 2/3 along, and leaving a little space open there in order to stuff the pillow later. Next, I folded the towel in half and lined up the edges, making sure that the stitch witchery strips are still in place. Then I took a damp washcloth and placed it over a section that I want to mend. And I took the iron, which I have set to high, and placed that on top of the washcloth, pressing down for about 30 seconds, and then I repeated that process all the way around the pillow, sealing all of the seams. Once all the edges were done, I went through the opening and turned the pillowcase right side out, pulling out the corners and straightening the edges. Next, I wanted to attach the gnomes, and since the plan was to again use the stitch witchery to attach, I first needed to remove the stuffing from the hats. So I used a utility knife to cut the stitching in the back of the hat, then removed the fill and gently pulled the hat from the twine. Next, I arranged some of the stitch witchery in a triangle form where I planned to place my first gnome and laid the hat on top. I repeated the damp cloth and iron process to attach, then repeated that for the next 2 gnomes. When all 3 gnomes were attached, I replaced the fill by going up through the beards and pushing the fill up into the hats. This hole can later be stitched. At this stage, it's time to attach the pom-poms to the sides. I used a good old needle and thread to do that, running the needle through the pillow edge and then the pom-pom multiple times. I arranged and attached 4 more pom-poms to the one side, then repeated the same pattern on the opposite side. From here, I'll stuff the pillow, and I have what seems like a never-ending stash of fill, as I like to harvest it from old comforters and pillows along the way. But you can also get cheap fill from inexpensive pillows from places like Dollar General and Walmart. And finally, I'll just use more of the Stitch Witch to seal up the end. And then, oh my goodness, these are so cute. A trio of adorable gnomes to cozy up your sofa, a bench, or your bed through the fall season. And now it's time to do that hammered metal look pumpkin from earlier in the video. And to make, I'm going to take one of the foam pumpkins and a plastic spoon with a rounded handle. I'm going to use the handle to make dimples on the surface of the pumpkin. I'm going to press firmly and give a little twist, but not too firmly, otherwise you risk making holes in the pumpkin. And then I'll continue to do this all over the surface of the pumpkin. To upgrade the stem, I'm going to use this tiny plastic gourd from these smaller Dollar Tree pumpkins. Next, I'm going to paint both the pumpkin and the stem with this metallic craft paint in the color Antique Copper. As I am painting, I am making sure to paint all the dimples and crevices. And then after 2 coats, this is what it looks like. I also went ahead and painted the plastic berries and leaves from the small pumpkin with the same paint. and glued those to the top using some hot glue. And then here's how it all came together with a final look similar to the hammered copper pumpkins sold at stores like Hobby Lobby and elsewhere. Making a great dupe for a fraction of the price. And speaking of dupes, if you're patiently waiting for the return of the high-end dollar dupe series, good news. I'll be back with more dupes next week when I take on some beautiful pieces from Ballard Designs. In the meantime, if you would like to see the first half of the dollar dupe series or more fall decor ideas, you can click on one of the links here. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.